I mean, I literally actually was like questioning, is today the day that I die? I mean, I was really concerned. If you put shame in a petri dish, it needs 3 things to grow exponentially: secrecy, silence, and judgment. If you put the same amount of shame in a petri dish and douse it with empathy, it can't survive. It cannot survive.
Boom.
Love Brene Brown.
Queen Brene. Guys, welcome to Unchained episode 3, Becoming Unchained from the Shackles. I want you to think about being shackles of shame. Why did you pick that quote? Better transition. This is take 2, by the way, because we had an odd transition the first time.
Sure.
Why? What? I love the quote. Tell me what about that?
I love it because, I mean, Brene, she's the woman, right? When it comes to vulnerability, authenticity, living a full life, and shame, and talks so much about it. She's a shame researcher. I love that she says, if you want to shut down a conversation, people ask you, what do I do? Oh, I research shame. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
So she's just great at it,
Cool.
right?
What about, yeah, exactly. It looks like it's raining out, you know?
Yeah, but shame is so, I mean, those 3 words that she says, it's secrecy, silence, and judgment. It's the secrecy part of it, right? Like, how much of our lives are in secret?
Well, a lot of my life was in secret. For a long time, there were things that I kept secret. I think one of the things I want to share for our listeners, if you're brand new to the Unchained podcast, I'm Jer.
I'm Jen.
There you go. Jeremy and Jennifer. But we can say Jer and Jen mainly. Sometimes I call you Jenny.
Yep.
I called you Jennifer before we started the show.
Yes, you did.
So the theme of the Unchained podcast is becoming unchained from the emotional, relational, and physical, in any order you want to say those: emotional, physical, relational, emotional, physical, chains that hold us captive, and chains that have held us captive for decades. And one of the things I want to share, and you have such an epic story about
them,
yesterday.
But yes.
But yes, but there's a couple.
Yeah.
There's actually 2.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really special episode today for me because I care for you so deeply, and you were in town, right? We've been hanging out, and you're going to share some things that are really cool. But I want to set this up with. I became a Queen Brene fan in like 2013. And at the time I was married, and I was going through excruciating pain, as was my former wife. She's a lovely human, right? If one of you is in pain, everyone's in pain. And there were many layers to the pain, but one of the layers had been me working through a lot of secrecy in my life, secrecy that I had started holding on to when I was 8 years old. And where I'm going with this is that I coach salespeople professionally for a living, right? So I run a real estate company, the Larkin Group here in town. I watch shame in the eyes and faces of middle-aged, what I call grown-ass adults, all the time, 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Shame. Like today, one of my agents said, "Oh, did you not?" I said, "Hey, how was your day?" She's new, and she's really, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of her. And she's like, You didn't hear what happened?" I said, "No." She's like, "You totally know." And I said, "I wasn't here. I don't know." She had completely flubbed up a contract issue that was about to cost somebody 10 grand.
Wow. That's a big blunder.
But there were layers of shame in that.
Yeah.
Right. And so she handled it well. But what I'm saying is, I became a Brene fan and a student of shame in 2013. And it has been it is something that I love to talk about. And I watch grown-ass adults who have, and we talked about this with our friend Jeff today in the kitchen, right? Jeff and Jen are staying at my house this weekend. We talked about watching childhood wounds come to work.
Yeah.
Children in adult bodies. We all are, right? So, Jen, you decided to go for a little run yesterday.
Just a little one. Yeah.
Tell us about it. This is what, a little, 3 to 5 miles?
Times 10.
48. What did your watch say? Your watch said,
It said 56.
What
but
was
it's,
it really?
It's like 50. Just call it 50.
okay.
So 40.
You went for a
50.
50-mile run, and people are like, how could there be shame in that?
Yeah.
But there was. Okay, what happened? What,
So-
say more of where you went and why.
Well, I went to the Grand Canyon. I love that place. Like there's a spirit in the Grand Canyon. If you haven't been there, it's an incredible place. I mean, you just stand there in awe, and there really is this like incredible grand spirit of the Grand Canyon, but it also breaks you to your core. So you're filled by beauty.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Really quick. I told Jeff yesterday, Jen, you do ultra running, right?
Yeah.
By the way, she didn't just get this harebrained idea to go run 50 miles. I said to him that it's basically like the temple or the Mecca for ultra runners is the Grand Canyon. Like it's a holy place for lots of runners.
It is, yeah.
Okay, keep going.
And
thank you and sorry.
People generally, right? I mean, it was kind of amazing. So, my friend Andrea and I set out we left St. George at 3:30 a.m., drove to the Grand Canyon, and it's going to be hard.
Sure.
And it's always going to be epic, but it's always harder than you think it's going to be. Like always. And it breaks you down in different ways every time. I think this was my 6th time doing rim to rim to rim. So started on the north end at North Kaibab, ran over up toward the south, but went up Bright Angel, and then came back down over to the north.
So you're talking 25 miles each direction-ish.
Yeah.
Talk about vertical feet.
So it's 11,000 feet of vertical gain.
So 5 aside?
Correct. Well, I mean, roughly. I mean, it's not perfect. You've got rollers,
but basically you
right?
drop 5, went up 5, drop 5, went up 5.
Yeah,
so
sure.
10,000 foot day.
Yeah.
And it's more, this is wild. First of all, I know we have listeners who are like, she did what? I've hung around this long enough that I'm like, yeah, she's down in the Grand Canyon.
She's just running 50 miles.
Meanwhile, Jeff and Patrick and I were at Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm at Pearl Jam. So that's a whole separate episode on how good that was. I want to talk sometime about being unified and what I watched, the solidarity of their band.
Yeah.
But I'm texting Jen saying, did you get out of the canyon okay?
Yeah.
And you said what?
Well, so the first half of the day was just, my friend Andrea started ahead of me, right? Because she said, I'm going to be slower on the descent. I had to go to the bathroom, forgot my sunglasses, went back to the car. So I was like a good 10 minutes behind her, maybe even 15. And so I'm not running it that fast, right? I'm stopping to take pictures and some videos.
Yeah, this is not
amazing.
this is not 5K, 10K pace stuff. This is ultra all day pace.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're in zone 2. If you're not in zone 2, you're going to die and you're doing it wrong. So anyway,
Zone 2 of how many?
Zone 2 heart rate of 5 heart rate zones.
For our non.
So thank you. Zone 2 heart rate.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your aerobic zone, your recovery moderate
that's
zone.
literally because I'm an endurance cyclist.
Yeah.
For people who don't understand, like that's like, what's the pace you could kind of go all day? And that's basically zone 2.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Which you literally went all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyhow, feeling great, right? Like I'm taking some pictures. I'm not taking a lot because I want it to be more about running, but I'm literally having dialogue with myself about life. And so, I recently actually was laid off from my job.
Oh, we're going to layer this in. Recently, as in happy 7-day anniversary.
A week ago, my company unfortunately had to do a mass layoff. And that's hard, right? That's hard. I mean, companies don't want to. They don't want to lay you off.
20% of their workforce.
Yeah, it was a lot, And so it was interesting just to see what has come up in me, right? Like initially when it happened, it's okay, things work out, everything is good in life. And then I've just had to let myself sit in it and be sad about it. But initially when it happened, I immediately told my kids. My parents happened to be at my house.
I want to tie it together with the run.
I know I'm going to.
Okay.
And so
cool. I'm
not losing it.
Because I want to really dig into this thing about you telling your kids. As a matter of fact, I'll come
back to it. I can come back
because we're going to talk about
the
Petri dish. Okay, so.
But anyhow, so I was processing that and processing some other things of life, right? All of a sudden, like this place I've known for 5.5 years has upturned, and I'm like, what do I do now?
So you're in the Grand Canyon.
So
you're
I'm in the Grand
Canyon
and I'm processing,
existence.
and I'm like, I'm my own therapist. Yeah.
Can I throw a comment in about this kind of effort?
Yeah.
One of the things that makes this kind of sport so cool, and this is why I like doing these long bike rides and races, you and I talked about it today, it cracks you open.
Yeah.
And a lot of us as human beings did never grow up really understanding our emotions. We understood anger and joy. Like that was about it, which are very secondary kind of emotions. And so it cracks you open because it just like it fillets you open. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. Keep going. But I want to say that because I think there's something very powerful to putting yourself in, first of all, a physical location that opens your heart. And number two, a physical condition.
Yes. Yeah.
That opens your heart.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well said. Really, like, I think that's why I do love it, because you become very raw and real, and it's hard. You learn so much, and it's beautiful, right? But you learn so much about yourself. So, going across, I am happy. I'm like sending you Marco Polo.
I'm getting videos. It's so amazing. I've got to bring you out here.
And also I'm recording for, my own Insta channel. I'm recording a few, just some videos, right?
At Dandelion Runner, by the way. Yeah.
And which I'm kind of thinking about changing it, but that's a conversation for another day. We'll find out. Anyway, but one of the videos that I record, I literally am saying on it, I want a Nobel Peace Prize, a Nobel Prize for electrolytes and water. I mean, it's really cheesy, funny. Like I'm laughing
like you're being
at myself.
silly about drinking water and consuming electrolytes.
Yes. Okay. Because my heart rate went from like 160. It was so weird as I was descending the canyon down to 110 as I was climbing. So I just thought, I'm like patting myself on the back. I'm so good at hydration, so good at nutrition, so good at, electrolytes. Like I'm really good at taking care of my body. I know how to do it. I do it well. When you follow the plan, it works. And it's why I race well. But I get across and I'm coming back and I find myself in this state of like actual delirium. At some points I thought I was hallucinating, and complete dizziness. So when I would stop and have conversations with people, because I had forgotten my sunscreen, like stupid. It was 95
Don't you remember
degrees.
the guy in 1999 or 2000 released a song, Wear Sunscreen? Do you know the song? Do you not remember the song? He's like,
maybe.
Wear sunscreen. And then he gives all this like really pragmatic advice for, it was a graduation song. It was designed for a graduation in like 2000. Oh my gosh.
I lived in Italy then. That's probably why.
Okay, listen, if Blake and Mal are hearing this right now, you guys at some point in this episode, you need to come and tell us what the song's called. Please, you know what? It's the Wear Sunscreen song. So you didn't bring sunscreen. Okay.
So I forgot sunscreen, lost my sunglasses, and I started out the day with electrolytes. I counted them out, but I was like, that's enough. I needed more.
Like tablets?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just electrolyte tablets. And so anyway, so I'm coming back across and I am feeling so terrible. And really, and I was dizzy, really. And I'm talking for 6 hours. Like nothing was pulling me out of it. And I'm trying to drink more water, more electrolytes, but I'm kind of trying to ration them, right? I'm continuing with the calories. So everything was fine, but I could not get out of the state of mind. And I literally had this thought, I just recorded like 6 hours earlier, which is crazy to think about that. I was in there for 15 hours. But just 6 hours earlier, I recorded like a video saying, I'm all about water and electrolytes.
That's what I call edutainment video. That's what those are. It's an edutainment video.
Yes. And here I am completely messed up. Like I had to stop and like sleep on the trail for 20 minutes heading up the North Rim because I was afraid that I was going to fall off, I was so dizzy and out
unbeknownst to us, we're just like working and then doing our thing and
going to
St.
a concert,
George and
right?
then going to a concert, right?
Yeah, and here I am like, I literally actually was like questioning, is today the day that I die? I was really concerned. But the fascinating thing about it was, and I told you about that this morning, I can't post that video now because
you can't post the edutainment video about how
electrolytes and water.
You should be
yes,
to drink electrolytes
and how
water.
good I was, and my
sunscreen.
Heart rate was so low. Right? I was like, oh, I get this. Like I'm doing all the right things. I'm so good at this. I'm an expert. And then I had a hyponatremia, which is too much water, which is fascinating.
You waterboarded yourself, basically.
Yes.
This is so.
My sodium was too diluted. Like fascinating. So, but that's shame, right?
Yeah. Because look, we're talking about shame today. This episode of Unchained is about unshackling ourselves from shame.
Yeah.
So, okay, why? I'm glad you're alive. And so we're toward the end of the concert, and I send a text to Jen. I'm like, hey, literally the verbatim, did you get out of the canyon hopefully alive? Like, ha 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 kind of type tone.
Yeah.
She said, I did. I got terrible heat stroke, and it was one of the scariest experiences of my life type thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Did I just read that correctly?
Yeah.
Eddie Vedder's distracting me.
Yeah.
So,
because a few hours earlier, I'm like, I'm on the South Rim.
Yeah,
and
this is epic,
this
man.
Is so
Everybody
great.
should do dumb things. What was shame's interesting because here's what I see about shame. People on the outside are like, why would you feel shame, Jen? You're human.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. Have you ever talked to a person who had shame that you weren't either saying with your mouth or at least thinking in your heart for them? You don't need to feel shame.
Yeah.
But what are they in fact feeling?
Yes.
Shame.
Yes.
Okay, so you had shame. Why?
Because I thought, oh, well, now I can't be the expert, right? Like I was imperfect. So that quote that you have on perfectionism and
this is so good. This
so
is, by the way, our
good.
show this is not sponsored, but this is the Raspberry Rose Poppy. But Poppy, if you wanted to pick up an endorsement partnership with us, I do love this stuff.
It is good. For a soda, it's good.
It's so good. So there's a quote here that I think is great. Brene says, anytime perfectionism is driving, some form of shame is in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Perfectionism and shame. Yeah.
Right? Like, well, I should be perfect because I'm Jen Lambert. I do ultra running. I shot a video saying,
Yes. I figured it out, right?
So,
like I know how to do this. And yet we're still human, like you said. So we're still going to encounter those. We still get to experience those things. And we're going to have hiccups.
We're going to jump over to Jen's epic week of, job losses.
Oh gosh.
Thinking she's going to die physically in the Grand Canyon. But before we go there, I want to say something kind of in advance of this getting late into the episode. One of the questions that should be coming up for listeners and for all of us is, how do we attack shame, right?
Yeah.
Well, your quote was, paraphrase the quote that you opened our podcast
well,
with.
if you put shame in a petri dish and douse it with empathy, it can't survive. And that's so true. But do you know what that requires? It means opening up. Right?
Yeah. So
it's me saying, hey, I can't post that video anymore. And you're saying, what are you talking about? Of course you can, right? It doesn't discount what you've done or what you know just because you yourself had an issue, right?
Yeah.
So
correct. And so I spent a fair amount of time doing a lot of 12-step work in my life. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you talk a lot about in 12-step work is shining a spotlight on the secret, right? And, when you shine a light on it, it's like it burns it. It's like you say, it's dousing it with empathy, but it's first exposing it. And one of the things that I often encourage the people that work for me to do is you need to speak up. Like if you walk into the office in the morning and you think, I'm supposed to be doing really great as a real estate person because this looks so easy on TV. But instead the reality of real estate is you make tons and tons of cold or lukewarm phone calls to people and there's a lot of rejection. And I say, when you're in there losing your mind, the best thing you can do is stand up, walk into someone and go, I actually feel like a nut job right now. I am ashamed. I feel weak. I feel unconfident. I'm scared. I'm stumbling over my words. I don't know, am I going to pay the bills this month? All the things that people in my business think. Mm-hmm. Go tell someone, and it's weird. Instantly, you're like, oh,
yeah,
that feels better.
Your energy shifts, right?
Yeah. And then here's the cool part with the empathy. Then I think step 2 is at that point, then you get to have empathy for you. And the person that you open up to, they're always going to have empathy for you.
Yeah. Yes.
Always.
Yes.
But what about having empathy for that, we talk about parts work. We've kind of had this conversation, that young part of you. Remember, we opened by saying, look, I see children in adult bodies all the time. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
When those parts rear up, right?
Yes.
Like, oh, there's that really young part of me. Have empathy for that part to say, hey, little me, one of the ways I was taught this was, hey, it's okay. I'm an adult now. I've got us. I've got us. Us. Right. Yeah. I know, guys, this is like hokey wonky stuff, but it's not.
But this is IFS,
beautiful.
right? This is that internal family systems therapy. And it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm an adult now. It's okay.
Manage.
I can manage. I'll help us.
Yeah.
So are you going to post the videos? Are you going to post, are you going to talk about you screwing up the Grand Canyon?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I will. So you know what though? There's still like some of that in me.
You
right?
sent the most awesome text as you were talking through this last night. Now we had too many texts since, but here's what you said. You said, I got severe heat stroke, most humbling and terrifying experience I've ever had. After I said, I hope you're out right alive.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm not going to lie. That was scary. You said, and then this is what you said later. This is a direct quote, 1:22 a.m. St. George time. I don't think I ever want to run ever again. I'm actually serious. I just kept thinking that I would rather be at a concert than dragging my half-dead body across the Grand Canyon.
I forgot.
You said that. That's documented for the annals of time.
So good.
So I want to shift gears. We're talking about shame. And if someone's listening to this episode, if you did one thing for yourself with whatever that is you're feeling crazy about, is find one human that you feel like you can confide in.
Yeah.
And go, look, I feel like a maniac because of X. But predating the near-death experience in the Grand Canyon, for a really experienced ultra runner, how many times have you done 100 miles?
6 100s, but I think I've done Grand Canyon 6 times.
I was going to ask you, that was my next question. How many times? How many times have you done 50-ish miles or the Grand Canyon?
I don't know. Like in addition to Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
I don't know. 20.
How many days a week do you run 30. On average?
Oh, like 5 to 6 days.
So you would think, you really think she'd be smart enough to have sunscreen.
But here's the fun
point
thing.
Is, this is the whole point is this is why you feel shame. I'm teasing.
Yes, I know.
Right?
I know. Well, no, these are all legit. I mean, I even had to stop and ask some people, these 2 women that I was, that were like, I think I had 2.5, 3 miles to the top of the North Rim. And I said, hey, I just stopped and slept like in this crevice. Cause I was like, I didn't know, I was so delirious. I thought, what if I like roll over and roll off like, this is real, right? I'm on these edges where if you fall, you die. And so I was aware enough.
It is the Grand Canyon.
It is grand.
Like, it's the same one, guys. Guys, the same one you've heard about. Yep.
Anyway, and so I'm like doing everything I can to stay as safe. I mean, I was staying on the inside of the trail the whole time I was hiking up, but I stopped to ask these 2 women, like, can I just hike with you? Like, I'm not feeling well and I'm really worried about it. And you could tell they were slower. And these 2 guys were coming down and they're like, oh, like I've got a whole bottle of Tailwind. Do you want some of that? I mean, and it's like, no, this is me, right? I think I talked about this in our last episode about ego, right?
That.
But it's like, I know how to do this. I know I've been doing all the right things all day. So what happened? Why I'm in this space? And I just had to be humble in that moment and accept help, right? Like I had to ask help from 3 different groups of people. Like one for sunscreen, one for water.
And the other one you said, hey, can I just tag around with you gals? Because I'm concerned for myself.
Yes. So anyway, but it was just funny to see them like asking, have you eaten enough? Like somebody gave me a beef stick. I'm like, that sounds good. Like I had tons of calories on me. I'd been fueling every 30 minutes. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Now I understand. But anyway, it was humbling, right? It's humbling to be in that situation and say, I know what I'm doing, but right now I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And I don't know what I'm doing. And God, like you said, like there is so much power in just surrendering and saying, I'm not okay, and going to someone and saying, I need some help, right? There's no time for shame when your life is literally on the line. So
you last week, and you're still processing this, you for 5-6 years.
Yeah. 5.5.
You were working with, for the world's going to know it as doTERRA, but they have doTERRA and there's like this sister company, right?
Yeah.
PMH or whatever.
I've worked for both. Yeah.
So is that okay that I'm speaking of where you were at?
Sure.
So, but here's the interesting thing. I see why the role was released, right?
Yeah.
It's totally viewed as a non-essential role because non-essential is our COVID term.
Correct. Yes.
in a nutshell, what was your role? It's a really, by the way, I think what you did, non-revenue generating, what you did is freaking cool. What was your role?
Ironically, there is revenue that's generated, but
Yeah.
I health coached patients with metabolic disease.
And like employees of the company, right?
Well, anyone, but yes, employees,
and employees of the company.
families.
So they'd sign up and say,
anyone. I mean, community members. So anyone.
And say, yeah, I need a coach that would meet with me, typically on a weekly basis,
yeah,
to help me deal with metabolic disease, diabetes, all those things, get out of my own way, change my habits, see clearly.
Yes. Yeah, like implement lasting lifestyle change, right? So that we're healthy. We're a healthier version of ourselves.
So tell me about the two things. First, the shame you felt, the shame that anyone feels when they lose a job that way. And number two, you kind of alluded to it earlier. I was like, oh, don't go there quite yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, shh.
Yeah.
How you immediately, I'm going to use a really gross term. You ready? I call it lancing the zit. Sorry, everybody can say it's gross. Everybody pop their own zits, so just get over it. What was the shame that you felt, and how did you lance that thing immediately with your family and friends?
Well, did I feel shame? I think it came after.
Well, maybe because you lanced it, you didn't feel as much shame.
Didn't feel it. Yeah. So because we received an email at 1 p.m. and letting us know, hey, we're going to right size the company. It's an amazing company. It is. I recommend anyone to work there. It is incredible. I believe in the mission. I love the leadership. I love the product. They really are out to change the world, and they're doing a good job of it. So I went to work there. I chose it. I sought it out, and it was a privilege to work there. So it was sad it's sad to not be able to work there now. Who knows where life leads next. But at 2 p.m., they sent emails out to everyone and just let you know the status of your role, and mine was eliminated, right? And I was shocked. I didn't expect it to come. And so I think there was a lot of shock, but immediately, ironically, my parents were at my house. So I told them. My kids, two of my 3 kids were there. And so I told them. And the interesting thing was really, and I don't say this because it's not anything, but in that moment, even knowing that it was that it could come, right? But just knowing it beforehand, I wasn't worried about me. I was worried more about my colleagues who would be fearful, really, really worried and fearful, because I know I'll be okay. Do I know what I'm doing next? No, but life works out, right? And so I just have that belief and energy. And so that was more of my remorse initially, was for my colleagues. But then also there was that, oh crap, I'm the breadwinner. What do I do? I support myself completely and my kids. So I do have to have it. I can't just sit around and be retired. And so there is some of that. But immediately I told my kids, and what came out of it for me, I think, was realizing that there's a lot of shame around job loss. Oh, there's a lot of shame around divorce. Anytime something ends, there's shame around breakups. And so I appreciated, this sounds weird, but with divorce, one of the things that I've appreciated about it is having empathy for other people who are going through it. Because now I understand. Oh, yeah.
Right? It transformed my...
Yeah.
Hey, everybody's doing it. Just kidding. Not everybody is.
Yeah.
Just 50% of couples in first marriages and 75% in the second ones. But, and it's hilarious because a lot of our friends are divorcees, right? Heavens, we have a friend, there's lots of us divorced.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think you did though, that actually helped decontaminate the situation is you immediately told your kids.
Yeah.
I was actually driving to northern Utah and it was hilarious. 1 minute, I was getting a text from her talking about retirement funds, and she'd kind of done a little checkup on herself. Hey, here's kind of what I'm looking at. And an hour later, oh, whoop. And I made some joke about rich women. And she's like, well, that wouldn't be me since I was just laid off.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that you immediately told your kids, and the sweetest story is one of your kids who's 10 years old. She had tears for you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say why this is so important. You told your kids because you thought it was the right thing to do. What you didn't realize is you actually gave your child a huge gift. You didn't ask her to hold it for you. You gave your child the gift of experiencing having empathy for a parent.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I thought about it later. I was like, oh, what an awesome. Because some people are like, why would you tell your kids?
Yeah.
Well, this is the whole point. You should tell your kids because energetically, here's the thing with shame, especially with secrecy in marriage, work, relationships. There's an energetic undercurrent of secrecy and of shame.
Yeah.
And people sniff it out, but usually they don't know what it is. They're like, smells yucky, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So you hide stuff from your kids. Now, I'm not talking about...
Or a spouse.
Yes,
or, right?
yes.
Like,
and I'm not talking about holding on to things that are confidential. I'm not talking about secrets.
Yeah.
Secrets is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Confidential is different.
Yeah.
But first, there's an undercurrent, and they're not stupid. Your kids aren't stupid. And number two, what a beautiful opportunity. And she's like, Mom, I got sad like you.
Yeah.
I'm sad that you lost your job. Like, I care about you, Mom.
Yeah.
And then you get this opportunity to say, hey, kiddo, it's going to be okay. You then get to play the parent.
Yeah.
We got this.
Well, do you know what actually ensued? It was even more beautiful than that because I was on the phone with my friend and I said, hey, I've got to go because I could tell Annie was crying. I was driving her to dance. And I asked her, why are you crying? And she said, because you lost your job. And I don't know if there was a fear or also just a sadness.
Oh, I
think it was sadness,
huge
right?
heart.
And it allowed me to cry. It gave me the gift to realize this is sad and I am sad about this and it's hard. And so it just allowed us both to cry for a minute. And then I said, Anne, it will be okay. And do you know what this does give me for a bit? More time with you, you know?
And to go run to the Grand Canyon and almost die.
And
I mean, the
almost die in
layers
the Grand Canyon,
of this,
right?
the benefits. Let's put a bow on this episode, guys. Unchained episode number 3, talking about shame.
I just want to say, empathy only comes when we're open. We can only express empathy when we're open with each other, when we are willing to be humble and say, this was really hard. This is hard for me. And I've had people in life say I speak too much. I say too many things. And
oh, really? Me too.
I love it. And it's like, but we want to hear from other people because it gives, when we are sharing with others, it gives them permission to share also.
What did Brene famously say in her landmark? It's like it was the first big TED Talk ever. If you go back to the annals of TED Talks, she was the first giant one, right? Yeah, the power of vulnerability. When we embrace our vulnerability and show it to others, we give them permission to be vulnerable and human too.
Yes.
And so my encouragement, as we put a bow on this, is if you're harboring a secret, man, if it needs to be a therapist or a pastor or a clergy member or something, like if it's that kind of thing, seek help.
Yeah.
If it's something more minor, but something you feel a lot of shame about, a job loss, something weird with your body, a health condition, right? A relational situation, the sooner you talk to someone you can trust and you just take a big old 50 million candle watt spotlight on that, it immediately, as you said, like put it in a petri dish, douse it with empathy, expose it, right? It changes your life so quickly. And then the crazy part is the people around you are like, wow, I'm really glad Jen spoke up because I was feeling kind of like a jackass for the thing I did or the thing I was going through. Someone's going to hear this episode. Not that almost died in the Grand Canyon. I'm virtually certain there won't be one of those. But someone's going to hear this episode that lost their job.
Yeah.
And they're going to go, oh, wow. Like, I get that, guys. If you want to catch us, find us. How do people find you on the
Dandelion
internet?
Runner on
Dandelion
Instagram.
Runner. Yeah, at Dandelion Runner. And I am at Jeremy Leon Larkin, my full name. You can find us on Instagram or my business, our real estate company, right? We run the Larkin Group at Larkin Group. And guys, check this out on iTunes and Spotify and, of course, YouTube. And let's go, like, I don't know, let's go be shame-free.
I love it.
Or which is not, maybe it's not a one-time thing, but yeah, let's be unchained.
Yeah.
Over and out.
Okay, let's do it.
Thanks.